Perfect. Looks like we're recording. So, all right, everybody. I'm Tommy Sessions with Slayer Calls. We have on Bill Ayer. Bill.
Hey guys, how's it going?
We have with us today two guests from Tagged Outdoors. Artum, he's out of Michigan, and then Mitchell. You have to kind of excuse me, but you are the owner. Is that correct? Of Tagged Outdoors?
Co-owner. So I co-owner with Cody Henson out of Iowa as well.
Cool. All right.
Sure.
Give me a little bit of background on Tagged Outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and take it. So we're a team made of all former baseball players. We all met in college ball or professional ball. Artum and I played 2 years of, I played 2 years of pro ball. Met Artum in California when he got traded to our team. And the guy walked in holy jeans, boots, and an American flag shirt with a bald eagle on it. And I knew he was going to be a good buddy from there on. Got the long locks and everything, but we essentially just kind of started a thing. They all met. Cody and Artum go hunt together all the time now. And we just currently brought on one of our old teammates from Indian Hills Community College in Southern Iowa. We brought him onto our team, and he's a big whitetail guy. And we just have a passion for the outdoors and for hunting. And we all played ball, and it just kind of worked. We all clicked together, and we're just kind of rolling, seeing where this is going. So.
And Mitchell, what state do you live in?
I am now in Alabama.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think that was part of the thing that was really cool about our Tagged Outdoors is, for whatever group that we have as a main part of it, we're all like geographically different. Nobody's really in the same state. We've got guys in Iowa, we've got guys in Alabama, we've got guys in Michigan. Many of us have had like Western experiences as well, so we can kind of like factor all that in, and it makes it kind of fun for the storytelling aspect. And when we first had met, that was really the big part of it, is we were just like super stoked to hear each other and like talk about experiences and strategize and get into it. We're like, maybe it's worth like showing some other people this stuff. And we kind of formulated that into the page and started out with like social media stuff. And then now we're even getting into a lot more of the filming aspect.
That's awesome. And now you got the Slayer team in Idaho. You could put that state on your checklist.
Oh, that's right. We're going to get together and make something happen. There's no doubt.
There you go. Just show me where the big bowls are up in northern Idaho.
What is Tagged Outdoors? Kind of what is your guys' not vision necessarily, but what do you guys do? What's your thing? What's your niche? What do you guys set out to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing for us is we just want to bring kind of a blue collar style to our hunting experience. We're the work's going to be put in. We're not going to be out there with high dollar stuff. Chasing the biggest hunts and the best hunts and everything. We work with what we have. We go where we can, and we just want to show that we're going to put the effort in to harvest an animal regardless of what we have. And I think the big thing in our group, and we have something that's kind of in the mix right now that we're working on, is we want to start kind of like, it sounds cliche, but kind of like a movement, I guess you can call it. It's called Hunt as One. And the thought process behind it is just nowadays there's so much bashing and so much hate towards folks that don't have certain rifles or certain bows or the $1,000 equipment, whatever. There's kind of a stigma nowadays with that, and we want to kind of show new hunters and youth hunters that that are getting into it that you don't need the best stuff in order to do it. You just need the hard work. So I think that's something that we're going to bring to the table, is people can come to us with questions and concerns about anything in the hunting world. And we're going to provide feedback to them and be positive with them. We're a very positive group. We're a close group. We're really a tight family. And I think, we have a lot of good that we can provide, and we're just waiting till the day of people, buy in and trust us. And, we're very excited that we're working with you guys now with Slayer Calls. And we love your product so far. I'm still trying to learn out this mouth call. I'm new to mouth calls, so I sound like a dead turkey or dying turkey with this thing already. But, you know, we'll get there. We're excited. But that's kind of our vision, is just to help who we can when we can, and bring more youth and more female hunters, and, you know, just continue to grow in a positive manner.
Awesome. I think that'll go a long ways. You know, one big thing that I see all the time is people, like you say, kind of the fear, I guess, if you will, of the unknown, or the fear of not having enough or being insufficient out in the field, and kind of they don't realize that it takes, just like you said, that it doesn't take the very best, you know, $5,000 rifle or a $2,000 bow or whatever to go out and harvest an animal and be successful. It could be something that they go and buy secondhand, but that's awesome. I think, you know, let us know that's how that goes, and we'll follow along and help you guys out as we can too.
Yeah, that's it.
R2, awesome. You're a busy guy.
Yeah. I definitely stay busy, so I apologize for having to take the podcast in the truck, but between the heat outside, I needed to find somewhere with AC and a decent connection, so this is the best I could make happen.
Perfect. And you're fishing, well, you're in between fishing. What do you, and you're in Michigan, on Lake Michigan?
Yep. I'm right on Lake Michigan, kind of the southwestern side. The port I'm fishing out of today is actually Holland, Michigan. I also fish out of Saugatuck and South Haven, which are the next two ports south of here. I've grown up on the lake fishing my whole life. After I had kind of decided that I was done with baseball, one of the main charter captains here, he's one of the better fishermen on this side of the state, if not the whole state. He came to me and he goes, "Hey man, you know, I've fished with you." And I had mated for him a little bit as well. And he goes, if you're willing to get your captain's license and you think that you can handle this job, like, I'll pay for half of your captain's course fees. And I was like, well, I mean, you know, why not? Yeah, we'll give it a go. And then I got my captain's license. I've got 100-ton masters with towing. So it's more than what I need for charter fishing up here. But we go out twice a day, every day, 7 days a week, from the end of March to about, realistically, it's about mid-September, because the offshore winds really start getting kind of gnarly then. And the only other days that we don't go is if there's lightning, because otherwise we're just a lightning rod out there in 200 foot of water, and that's not a place you want to be. Or if it just gets too rough, you know, 4 foot is pretty gnarly for a lot of people that haven't been out here before. So we want them to have a good experience. We don't want them to be thrown up on the side for a 5-hour trip, because generally they're 2 5 hours or 2 7 hours. And if you get out there and you get sick right in the beginning, that's it. You're not going to enjoy the rest of the trip, because you're going to throw up, you're going to sleep, you're going to throw up again, and you're not even going to want to reel in a king salmon or a lake trout. And that's just not fun for anybody.
I got to attest to that. I've done some fishing out in the ocean on the West Coast, and I've only been seasick once, but the one time it was not fun. I promise you that.
Yeah, we have more than a handful every year. There's some fun stories, especially amongst other charter captains, as we communicate. And you know, like, we'll send a quick text or whatever if it goes through out there, and be like, dude, this guy just like didn't play the wind and he vomited off to the side, and like it got in my eye. And you know, we had one where there was a kid, and he just straight looked at the first mate, and the mate asked him, he's like, "Hey, are you gonna throw up? Because if so, like, you got to get to the side." And he just looked at him, just all down the front of you, man. So the rest of the trip, that's all he had. And, you know, we make fun of each other for it, but at the same point, like, we don't want to do it in front of them. We don't want to make them feel bad, because we understand that it's a part of it.
That sounds like you guys are about, the fishing community is about like the hunting community. You give each other crap for always having problems, or you know, as long as everybody's safe, and then it turns into a big joke, and you laugh about it, and the camaraderie is there. That's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a riot. I really enjoy doing it. it's pretty demanding. I mean, I leave my house about 4:30 every morning. By the time I get home, it's generally about 10:30, maybe 11 at night. Fall asleep usually by about 11:30. It doesn't take much when you're running like that, and then back up at 4 we go.
Perfect. Sounds like hunting season for you pretty much year round. So no sleep and I'll go. That's awesome. Before we go on real quick, is everybody's connection all right? Mine kind of is bumping in and out.
Mine seems good. I'm hearing everybody fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me, if you guys want to talk for just a second or whatever, I'm going to tell my kids to get off some of the devices. That's probably what's slowing it down. So hang on just a minute.
Yeah, I'd like to know more a little bit from you, Bill, too, as to you're the founder of Slayer, correct?
Yeah, founder of Slayer. We started this thing, it's probably been like 5 years ago. I mean, I've been building duck and goose calls for probably 10 years or so. Maybe I always say 10, but the years keep growing on me, so it's probably more like 12. And about 5 years ago, we were like, you know what, let's start selling these things. Everybody was raving and ranting about them, so started selling them. And then about 2 years ago, me and some investors, we decided to get serious about it, and so that's kind of where you see Slayer headed today.
Well, I can see why. I mean, the call that you guys sent me that's awesome, man. I'm super pumped to use it this fall. I do a little bit of waterfowl guiding as well up here once our fishing season ends, and I had some other calls, and they sound good, but they seem to take like a bunch of air, even like single read, double read.
Yeah.
I don't mind that necessarily if it becomes, like a 35 mile an hour wind and it's just coming down in the snow or whatever, because you're going to need it anyway. Yeah. But on a nice bluebird day, I like to be able to kind of back it down a little bit, especially, 5-10 mile an hour breeze. So I'm not making it sound like I'm King Duck of the Marsh and me and the other 26 parties that are out there can hear it. I'm not calling for everyone.
Yeah.
So I like it. It's smooth, man. And it doesn't take like anything to blow.
No, it doesn't. And most people will grab it at first and overblow it. We do have an open bore call that takes a lot more air, because some people just, they have big lungs. They can't back it off. But, so depending on the style, we have it for both folks who have a lot of air versus people don't want to blow a lot of air into it. I go to that Drake Slayer call. I don't get tired of blowing it all day. I think it's good, soft and ducky sounding, and you can still get on it if you need to. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially for those stubborn mallards that want to circle like 16 times.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about this bull you killed. I saw that mount on the side of the barn, and I was like, holy cow. And, we'd already been talking, to Tagged Outdoors. And when I saw that, I was like, well, we need to get him on a podcast and figure out, where did you get this bull? How did it go down? Did you kill it with a rifle, a bow, and kind of go into the whole story? So I'm really interested in hearing about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys want me to just dive into it? I'll get going.
Well, let's chat about, like we said, you're from Michigan, we're in Idaho. You told us it's 33 hours, give or take, away. So let's start at the inception, I guess. Where did you, what brought up Idaho? I mean, there's Colorado in between us. There's Wyoming next to us. There's some other states that have good elk hunting. So why Idaho?
Well, I guess the easiest way to put it, and you guys will come to learn this as well, is I am a different character of a person. I'm not a follower. I don't like to go where everybody else likes to go, or I may look up units and success rates and anything in that regard, and I'm not the guy that's going to go to the highest success rate unit. I may look at something that's kind of in the middle or even on the lower end, because I see that as there's not going to be as many people in that unit, and it doesn't necessarily always pan out. But through my mindset towards it, although there's not as many people, I'm going to have a better opportunity that if I get on, for this instance, on an elk, somebody else isn't going to be calling back and forth with me on it. And then I look into the idea of, well, why is it that unit's such a low success? Or that there's not as many tags being sold, because Idaho was also an over-the-counter state. And that was the big thing is I was looking for. I didn't really want to put in for draws. I didn't want to wait. I'm a guy that once I get it in my head, I want to go, and I'm going to try to do everything I can to make it happen. So when I look into that, I'm like, okay, well, what is that reason that, there's not a lot of people there? And you look at the terrain in northern Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, you see exactly why a lot of people get turned off it right away. They don't want to be going up and down the mountains nonstop for a week to try to stay with a herd or try to stay with a single bull or whatever it may be. Or maybe they're even fear the idea of packing it out, which is, that's a game in itself. So originally, years and years, I'd always wanted to hunt. I think it started, or at least hunt for elk. I think it started with my dad. He got me into hunting my whole life. From the time I was 3 years old, I was sitting on the platform in this tree stand. That was well before some of the safety things they have out there now, such as the harnesses. He just tied a rope to my belt. And if I fell, I'd hang there while he shot a buck. But we got into that when I was I think I was 8 or 10 years old. And he went out to Colorado elk hunt. And I was just ticked that I couldn't go with him. But I gave him, and I still have this thing today. You'll probably see pictures of it. I gave him this little fish. It's a little toy fish. And I told him that it was good luck. And he went out there, and they didn't have anything. They couldn't find any bulls. They couldn't get on any herds. Everybody said that there wasn't anything around. And he was with his buddies, and he pulled out that stupid fish and set it on a log. And then all of a sudden, a bugle fired up behind him, and they shot like this. It was like a 4x5 bull or whatever. And when he told me that my fish was lucky, I carried that up until the year that I shot that bull. And I finally said, I'm going to do it, but you did it with a gun, so I'm going to do it with a bow. And kind of like that one step up, I fell in love with bow hunting when I was 9 years old. My dad got me into it, and I have nothing against gun hunting. I think it's still a riot, but to be able to see and feel like the challenge of hunting an elk or hunting any big game with a bow and arrow, to me, that's just the cat's ass. Yep.
So that's funny that you said, well, for one, it's got to be a baseball thing, because I was a baseball player too. It's got to be it's the lucky fish. A buddy of mine and I that I hunted with, it's, you find like a bottle cap, and you gave that bottle cap to your buddy, and he's the shooter for the day. And then if you got whatever. So that's awesome. I love the tokens, and then that you gave it to your dad. Do you still carry that?
Yeah, I do. It's got a special pocket in my fanny pack, which when I get further in this story, just keep in mind that fanny pack is the number one thing that I hunt with.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So you've decided now we're going to Idaho. What's the terrain like in Michigan?
Primarily flat.
When you hunt there, what's it like?
Yeah, primarily flat.
Flat? So, obviously people know Idaho, we're not flat.
Yeah. My training consisted of, I'm on the lake, so there's a lot of sand dunes, like fairly large sand dunes. I guess as far as sand dunes are concerned, still nothing in comparison to mountains in Idaho, but that was where a lot of the training began for it. To be honest, I didn't really do a whole lot of training before I went out. I was kind of a little stubborn and egotistical about it. And I was like, I'm in good shape. Like it's like, I can walk up some mountains. It's not that big of a deal. I was proven wrong quite quickly. The first day I was winded beyond belief. And I considered my guy that was in really, considered myself as a guy that was in really good shape. And I did all right, but I definitely wish there would have been a little bit more training into it, especially as we got further down the road and hunted multiple days.
What's your elevation in Michigan?
I couldn't tell you. I really don't know, but I doubt anywhere that I'm at we're like even anywhere near 1,000 foot above sea level.
Yeah, and you're probably up where you're hunting anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 feet, give or take.
Yeah, I'd say at least.
Yeah, and that's an extremely that nobody really thinks about that until they're hiking up that mountain. And they finally realized that 2,000 feet elevation difference or more is a huge deal.
I just looked it up. Holland, Michigan, 663 feet.
Yeah, that's about right. I was gonna say it was like 400 or 500 at best, but I went with 1,000 to be safe.
Yeah, that's a difference. Even 1,500 feet. So if you're listening to this, wanting to take a little nugget out of there, and you're going to go hunt something, that's a big deal. I mean, they make a lot of training stuff for elevation. Not that I necessarily buy into all of it, and you don't have to be the crazy person out there looking like Bane from Batman and have an elevation mask on, but take that into account, that it's your 10 miles in Michigan is probably going to be like 2 miles or 3 miles in Idaho or Colorado or Montana or whatever when you get up high.
Yeah, the main training that I actually ended up doing, and it actually was extremely helpful, and it's going to sound wild, because it was more about being exhausted for the shot itself rather than like getting the opportunity to the shot, because I just felt like that was going to be, to me, that was the most vital point of the hunt. Like if I got an opportunity, I didn't want to be taking a shot that I thought was going to be unethical, especially with my bow, or like just be too drained to a point that I couldn't really hold my mark. So it would consist of these honestly kind of dumb self-training obstacle courses where it would be like 8 to 10 laps around the house while carrying your bow as fast as you can. So like whatever neighbors were watching or anybody that was down the road probably thought I was nuts, man. I'm literally like running through the front yard 10 times super fast with a bow in my hand, circling this house. And like, at some point, I'm sure there was like arrows that were falling out of my quiver that I was trying to pick back up or whatever it was. And then I'd quickly get to the like front of the yard, and then I'd be like, all right, well, maybe I'll get a quick range and I'll just tap it. And I'll be like, well, it didn't work, but I think it's 60. And I'd fling one out at 60 and it hit. And I'd be like, okay, well, I was consistent. Obviously I didn't start at 60. I started at like 15 yards because I knew when I first did that wasn't going to happen, but it was just stuff like that, like run through the house and go up and down the stairs and then jump out, do a couple laps and take like a shot off your knee or some awkward angle where like I'd have a step stool, and after I'd get done running around aimlessly around the house, which mind you, this happened for weeks. So people would have had me on a timer. They would have had a hell of a show, but like put the step stool up there and have like some kind of lean with your shot, just because I knew the terrain wasn't going to be flat.
That's super cool. That's pretty ingenious. People don't do that. They go out to the range, they stand on the line, they shoot 20, 30, 40, 50 and say, yeah, cool, we're good to go. Let's go out and hunt.
Yeah, it's tough to do in the summer. You see a lot of guys that they don't want to go out and sweat and do it in the heat. And I get that. But if you're not really prepping yourself now, you're not. If you can't do it when it's 70 degrees, it makes you think you're going to be fine and able to do it when it's 35. Sure.
So you're all prepared. Got your license, everything. You're set. I mean, you're gonna hunt Idaho, so your September range, give or take. You decided the unit you're headed. So now, you're headed to Idaho. What do you got going on?
So I actually couldn't get my printer to work. So I didn't have a tag, and I was like, well, I hope they got them when I get there. So like I said, it was the over-the-counter thing. Originally, I planned on going solely by myself. I was all set up to go and do a solo mission. It was my first elk hunt. I couldn't really get anybody else that wanted to come with me. And it was like 2 or 3 days before the trip, and I threw it up on my Snapchat. I was like, so still going out west to elk hunt if anybody wants to join. And one dude, I'm pretty sure he just like broke up with his girlfriend or something and was just looking for something to do. He replies back and he's like, dude, are you serious? Like, you want to have somebody? I'm like, dude, yeah, that'd be sweet. Here's like the expense list. This is what it's going to cost. Like, we're going to split the gas every other tank. I got a trailer. Everything's loaded down. Be at my house at this time. If you haven't done any training, which I'm sure you haven't, here's like a map of the terrain. If you still want to do it, like just be here 3 o'clock in the morning on whatever day we left. and I'll be damned if he wasn't there at 2:30. And neither one of us had a tag. We had everything else ready to go, and we just started driving. And it was pretty cool. I actually didn't really know this guy super well. It was like our first year of friendship together, and we became real close friends as we were learning to outcall for 33 hours, because we also, like, you know, some simple-minded YouTube videos and this and that. And I was like, okay, like that doesn't sound too bad. Didn't start that way, but I'm like, that doesn't sound too bad. And then we get out there, and, you know, I had bought like multiple different diaphragms and like different types of bugle tubes, because I didn't know what worked and what didn't, and there wasn't really a whole lot of guys I could go to with questions around here. I took what I could from my dad and then kind of built on that. And I think one of them was like a Primo's bugle tube that it basically had like a little condom cover over the top, and you just like put your wet lips on it and made some kind of high-pitched sound. And I was like, I guess that sounds all right, you know. And we got out there, or no, this is well on before we got out there, something else, but that was the plan, is to use that call. And we're en route, man. We're pumped, we're ready to go, we're listening to podcasts, we're trying to learn these calls and YouTube videos. I don't think we slept a whole lot on the way out there. We did the drive straight through. There was a few gas stations we definitely like floated into on fumes, especially in like the North Dakota area, which I kept a gas tank. I used to do a lot of duck hunting in North Dakota, and I told my buddy, I'm like, whenever we stop, make sure that this 5 gallons is filled up, because it still may not get us to the next gas station, but it'll get us 5 gallons closer to the next gas station that we're not pushing. But I'll stop right there and see if you guys got anything else you want to say real quick, because otherwise I just get on my tangents and I run with them, man.
No, it's all good. You're putting me there. I've been, you know, I used to hunt Idaho as a kid, and we made long trips from California. It wasn't like yours, but it was 15 hours. And so it brings me back to the times when we're like, oh, we'll stop at Jackpot and sleep. And it was always straight through, you know. It's like you're so fired up to get there. You're just like, screw sleep. We'll just get there.
It's like the hurry to be in no destination, you know, like You're so excited to get nowhere, but also get somewhere at the same time. Because there's just all these expectations off that immediate feeling of being there.
Yeah.
And it was so cool, because we were driving and talking and learning all this stuff, and also like growing our friendship, which has been maintained so probably because of this trip. And originally I had actually called out to some of the COs out there and talked to them, and gave me a little bit of guidance as to where to go and maybe like a better idea of why to be there. And I told them where I was coming from and where I had planned on going, and there was always like a bare silence of like, well, have you prepared for that? And I'm like, no, not really, but I think we'll be all right. And then they, you know, clearly would try to steer me in a different direction. And in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, so you're just trying to pull me away from some of those big elk, save them for yourself. But no, they were actually really super helpful, really good dudes. I tried to link up with one of them and buy him dinner, because he guided me in such a good direction. And we didn't actually hunt where he had recommended. And all that happened solely because of a truck stop in Montana, when we were like 5 hours from where we were going to be in Idaho. We pulled over, we had a full tank of gas. I had to piss like a racehorse, and I just couldn't hold it anymore. And I told him the same thing. I was like, man, I don't care if you got to go to the bathroom. We don't have time. Like, we got to get there, because our plan was to be there at least to scout one day before the opener. And I'm like, we're going to get up there. I want to get to like at least part way up this mountain before dark so we can set up a camp. None of that panned out. We ended up getting lost in the first portion of the day at like the bottom of the mountain before we even got going. Set up camp thinking that we were somewhere deep in the woods. We were like right off the road. So that was pretty neat. But we got to Montana and pulled in this truck stop. And it was a very odd exchange. but I took it as a sign, like kind of with the whole superstition we were talking about with baseball and this like event that happens that shouldn't make sense at all. And I'm just in the bathroom taking a piss, and this other guy walks right up next to me. You know how it always is. There's that one guy where there's like 10 urinals, and he's got to be at the one right next to you. And he comes right next to me because I'm wearing camo and just strikes up a conversation. And I'm like, this, if we could like maybe wait till we're washing hands or something, like whatever the case. And he just gets going. He's like, oh, you guys scouting for mule deer? We just got done looking around here and, not really seeing much. What are you guys seeing? I'm like, no mule deer this year. We're going over here to Idaho and gonna try for some elk and doing that for the first time. He's like, oh, really? No way, man. Like, where are you going? Who are you going with? Like, is it an outfitter? You guys by yourself? We're like, no, we're just gonna go over the counter, try it out ourselves and do it that way. I like the challenge of it. He's like, oh, well, follow me. And we got down in the bathroom and followed this super anxious and excited individual out to his truck. And he pulls out this massive map and he's like, well, I shot my first bull here. And they just had like a big burn over here. So you might want to check that out. And then this front side hill doesn't look like there's a road. There's actually a really nice road that goes in there. And I'm like, honestly, we got done talking to this guy for like after an hour. We sat in the truck. My buddy and I looked at each other. We're just cracking up because we couldn't believe this guy was just all about it, And I sat there and thinking for a second. I'm like, dude, that's got to be a sign. We're changing our plans. We're going to drive an extra 3 hours north, and we're going to go right where he told us to go. Because there's no way that something like that happens and you don't like use it to your advantage. But that was probably one of the funniest parts of like the route getting out there. So it got changed.
So did you change units or did you stay in the same unit?
No, it was just at the top of the unit,
Okay.
that we were already in. And like I said, to this point, we still hadn't gotten our tags because it was the over-the-counter deal. And we pulled in. We got our tags at a Walmart with another dude named Brandon that was super helpful. And he sat there and tried to keep us at the counter, talking to us and telling us everything that he knows of the whole area for what felt like 2-3 hours. And finally, when we got away from Brandon, we got on our way. And like I said, we set up camp in the bottom mountain and planned on scouting up the whole next day until where we decided we were going to set our camp. And we got out there, man, it was just gorgeous country. I couldn't believe it. That alone, just seeing everything we did the first day between moose running out in the road and we could hear bugles, but we couldn't see them. So we knew we like timed it decently. And there we had bear like running clear across on another little ridge top and stuff. And it was, it's just a guy from Michigan. It's something different. And being able to take that all in, I was like, honestly, dude, at this point, I don't really care if we get one. Like, this is just too cool. And just being able to take it all in. Like I said, that was worth its weight in gold alone. And our plan when we got out there, we're like any legal bull, first time out, that's what we wanted to do. And we were putting our boots on the ground and getting our scouting in. And again, we ran into another two guys that were kind of making fun of us for how we were hunting and what we were doing. And, it is what it is. I don't really take that stuff too close to heart. So ended up becoming buddies with them as well. And, they actually helped us improve on our calling tremendously, actually. So they showed us a bunch of stuff and hung out at our camp, and it was a guy named Josh and his brother, and they were fought the wildfires out there. So they knew where all the burns were and maybe some of the areas that they had seen some elk prior. And they're like, we'll tell you exactly where they are because we don't think you're going to get one. And I was like, all right, well, I'll take that challenge. Why not? And of course, everywhere they told us was like the deepest, darkest hole in Idaho with the steepest ridge down and shale rock that has no footing whatsoever. But by God, we sent it. And we got, opening morning came and we tried to take an easy way out for sure. we found a big wallow where there's a ton of tracks, and we're like, all right, let's just set this for the morning and see what happens. We're out here for a week. Let's just see what this first morning does. And we sat there, and the only thing we saw was another hunter. That was the only thing that walked through the wall. So we're like, all right, well, this whitetail method of hunting probably isn't going to work. And changed the game plan from there on out. And like I said, boots on the ground was the biggest thing. I don't remember how many miles we covered today, but it was a lot. And I think the biggest thing everybody out there was making fun of me for was the fact that I wouldn't wear a frame pack. I had the mindset of whitetail hunting where if I shoot one, I can just come back to pack it out. Like I'll go back up to camp and grab my frame pack, and then I'll come back and pack it out. So I ran around all of the Idaho wilderness with nothing but a fanny pack and like one bottle of water.
Yeah, that could be a little tough.
Well, like I said, I think the excitement took away for the fact where it almost made me like forget to eat or forget to drink. And you could tell by the end of the day, because we were just beat down. But it worked. I had my fish, I had my water, I had some scent wafers, rangefinder, and that was pretty much it. I don't know how much else was in there. Maybe a granola bar at best, and like a little wind detector for the thermals or the wind coming up and down in the mornings. And we were on bulls every morning. It was cool. We just couldn't close the deal. I think we got on after opening morning, we got on 3 bulls the next morning, and I want to say about the same amount in the afternoon. And like within 15 yards in all that understory, like would get them in these like logging trails on these thickets and just couldn't get a shot opportunity in the open. Wasn't really willing to take like a shot I wasn't comfortable with. And my buddy was the same way. And finally it became the 3rd day of hunting, and we found this rub line. And I was like, screw it, dude. Like, we're getting close, but it's not close enough. We're going to go back to a Midwestern style of hunting here. And we followed this rub line clear down to the bottom of, again, the deepest, darkest crevice. And right at the very bottom, we were like 100 yards from the base of this little gully, and this bull lit up. Now it's like, okay, from everything we've learned so far, that's a pretty nice bull. And we got on him, and we stayed with him, I think, for probably 4 or 5 miles. And the thermals kept being run, so we couldn't like advance, or we had to pull back out. And we could get him fired up, but we couldn't get him away from his cows. And he had like 10 or 12 cows with him. We had one satellite bull that was coming down the hill, and we're like, well, we can't loop around this little gully here because we're going to get caught up by him with our scent. And it was just like this cat and mouse game for like the entire day. And finally there was this little opportunity where one of the big pines that was falling across this gully. And I looked at my buddy and I was like, all right, dude, you just run around this backside and get up. So if that satellite bull comes down when I bugle after I like Dukes a hazard down this tree, that you're ready to shoot him. And my plan is I'm just going to fly across this tree that goes across this gully, get back up on this high point, and maybe catch them before they cross. So he went sprinting that way. I went darting across this gully, and we came back up to the top, and all I could see was the ass of a cow like 15 yards away. And I was like, oh man, that's it. Like, that's our herd. I just got a feeling, and there's this little sapling right in front of me. And I looked, and next thing you know, directly across from us, just cow crossing. And I'm like, all right, he's got to be at the back. So I quick put a range, said 60 yards. At this point, I'm solely out, like ridiculously out of breath, but I'm super amped up. So everything's like telling me to black out, but I'm trying to like fight it just so I can remember everything that's happening, And right underneath one of the big pine limbs, I just see a rack, and I'm like, we were pumped with any legal bull. So this thing comes out, it steps out, and I'm like, all right, stop looking at the rack. We got to just focus on the shot, because otherwise I'm going to butcher this. I know it. And I'm at full draw, and he gets cutting right in front of me, and he stops for like a quarter of a second. And that was all it took. And I let her fly, and I heard a big smack, and he curled around the corner, and then everything went silent. We're cow calling, trying to make everything feel fine and dandy. And I just stopped in the middle of it. My buddy's like a couple hundred yards behind me. I'm like, dude, we we did it, man. We fucking did it. Like, you got to get over here. I'm so pumped. I might have hit a tree, but I'm pretty sure I smoked him because that was really loud. Like, you know, like immediately start second guessing yourself. I know I watched the shot go perfect. And he gets over there. He's like, did you really? Did you really did? I'm like, honestly, at this point, like, I'm blacked out. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think we got him. He's like, is it a big one? I was like, does it matter? It's a bull. Like, it's legal. And we went down. It took us like 40 minutes to get down this gully and back up to where we had shot. It was only 60 yards. And all we find is like the 3 fletchings of an arrow, and then the rest was broke off. So I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't really see any blood. It wasn't a pass through. And, you know, so now we're riding, like, we were just at the top of the mountain, highest peak, riding the high, and we can't find blood. Now we're sunk right back down to the bottom. We're sad. Be honest, like, I looked over at my buddy and he's kind of being a dick. I don't know if he was being funny or not, but he's like looking in the trees. He's like, you sure you just didn't hit one of these? I'm like, no, I didn't hit a tree. I know I smoked this thing, you know? And we get looking, finally find a speck of blood. I'm like, all right, dude, just stay here. We're gonna just mark it and follow it, trail it out. You know, 20 yards, there's another speck. 20 yards, there's another speck. And then it's just a big drop off. So I look off. I was like, just stand here. I'm just gonna peek over there and see if I can, like, see something down there. And as soon as I peeked over, I saw just this massive bull laying there, or to us, you know, what was massive. So he come running over. I threw my bow in the air. We were like two kids in a snow fight, man. We were bear hugging, rolling down the rest of this mountain. Like, we're getting scratched up by the shale, and it don't even matter. We get down to the bottom, and I go to, like, try to pick up the head of this thing. Can barely do it. We're leaning into it, high-fiving, just super amped up. Couldn't believe that we actually did that. We had no idea where we were at and how bad this pack was going to be. Like, none of that mattered at that time, you know. We were just so pumped that somehow two dudes from Michigan that have never done any of this and only dreamed about it through, like, YouTube videos or outdoor channel videos got what we would consider like a world-class bull to us with a bow in northern Idaho and mountains we've never been in. You know, like, everything had to line up perfectly, and we were just couldn't believe it, man. We were just pumped.
Well, that bull is not it's not any slouch. I mean, I've shot some pretty decent bulls, and to come in to Idaho for a week and shoot a quality bull like that, that's a pretty world-class bull. Have you gotten it scored?
Yeah, I think so. I actually got it scored by official score in Michigan, and they put it at like 321. But Then again, it's a Michigan score, so I don't know the truth to that because we don't really get elk with that size, and not many of them. Yeah,
it's every bit of that, I would say. And again, I gotta imagine that, you know, scoring bone, you're taking the same dimensions and that, but a 321 is no slouch. That's a great bull. I'd shoot that thing any day of the season from opening to end. So
yeah, especially over the counter. Never been to Idaho before. Never been elk hunting. That's an awesome bull.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to, because this is why I'm still trying to, like, wrap my mind around this. Because Idaho, we have over-the-counter tags, but as a non-resident, you only have a certain amount of tags. Like 10% of Idaho's tags go to non-residents.
Right.
And what year was this? Was this last year, or when was this exactly?
No, this was, so the mount actually took me, I think, 3 years or 4 years to go back, because everything about this has a story and it's wild. But essentially my taxidermist had a ton of health issues and he just couldn't get it done for, I think it was at least 3 years now.
Okay, so it was 2018. Is that the season you hunted?
I believe so.
Okay, so when you hunted Idaho, 2018, you may have still been able to get an over-the-counter tag as a non-resident, but then we started having a huge influx of not just people coming from out of state to hunt Idaho, but we actually have so many people that have moved to Idaho that don't have the residency yet that actually get tags. So our out-of-state tags sell out within a matter of it used to be like a week, and then now it's up to like a half a day they'll sell out. And then just yesterday, the tags that get returned, which is not very many. There was like maybe 100 total or something like that for elk, that they go on sale again, and those sold out in a matter of like 30 minutes. So you're pretty fortunate like then, because